With the first round now officially in the books, we recap the opening round that was and give you a comprehensive preview of round two. Division titles are on the line. It's time to find out who completes the field at the 2025 Larry Bishop Provincial Tournament right now on the Junior Beast podcast on CROW LAX TV.
And that's going to be stopped by Carpenter. Rebound comes out. Another one. He stops it.
Third to the net. Twister 5-hole scores.
Couldn't quite find the shot, but he'll get the jumping leap and put it in. Wow. Bombing and weaving inside. Quick shot. They scored.
Isaac Nickel all by himself. This is what that scores. Isaac Nickel.
Look to get a goal here. Maybe Amundsen scores. Welcome back to the Junior Beast podcast. As always, my name is Keenen, joined by my co-host Muhammad, and once again back joining us for the second time this season, Cody Janzen. Welcome back to the Junior Beast.
Happy to be here. Kind of happy you guys couldn't find anyone better than me.
Hey, don't say that. Don't say that. You're the big man in this. You're the big dog in these parts. I'll tell you what.
What a fun playoffs though, fellas. I can't wait to talk. Like Junior Beast playoffs. Honestly, I know there's some great series going around coast to coast here, but like the Junior Beast always has me hooked and right down to the wire. So yeah, can't wait to talk some more lacrosse.
Absolutely, and yeah, a lot going on around the entire country. We will get to that a little bit later. But Mo, we had one hell of an opening series, and now before we get into the recap, I don't know if you guys know this stat, but a crazy stat. There were 8 games played in round 1. 75% of those games, the away team ended up winning. Only in 2 of those 8 games, the home team won.
Yeah, Keenan, I actually had that note ready to go here. The road teams went 6-2 in the first round, and if you look back historically, that's very, very rare. Just based on the fact that the home teams are the teams that are the higher seeded teams, right? So generally those teams win in round 1, but that was not the case in round number 1 in 2025, as the road teams did go 6-2, as you pointed out. So yeah, that was probably the biggest takeaway of the opening round.
Now, am I harsh in saying that it's because there's a lack of home floor advantage for teams nowadays? You guys both saw the rinks when they were packed. Like, come on, you're going to tell me that going into St. Albert, going into the JRC, going into one of those barns, pre-COVID, when it was absolutely buzzing, it was intimidating. The fans were on top of the guys. There was so much more of a home floor advantage. I don't know if teams have that nowadays. And no offense to the Calgary teams, but I'm not breaking news to anyone. They don't have that crazy home floor advantage. It's just one of those things where it's something we're kind of losing across all the lacrosse world. And so it's not overly surprising that road teams are pulling off the upsets, if you ask me, because you're literally just driving in a different direction for the game.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different directions you can go with this. I think that is part of it. I also think that the other part of it is that their top of the league this year wasn't as strong, or just the league in general wasn't as strong, I didn't think. So it kind of left the door open for some of these teams to come in and pull off some quote unquote upsets on the road. Just because these teams are so closely matched, I think that is a decent sized part of it. But you're right, crowds have really dwindled across the country, like Victoria and Peterborough. I always talk about this. 2 lacrosse quote unquote hotbeds. They don't support their junior A teams at all. Highest level of lacrosse you're going to find really in the world. And these people in these centers that are supposed lacrosse hotbeds don't support their teams. Yet
I got an issue with that take.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well then, if we're gonna call them out, look at the hockey world. Okay, so the Edmonton Oil Kings don't get the support that the Oilers do. Are we gonna say that that's not a hockey town? Come on.
Okay.
It's juniors. It's juniors.
It's a different
when you've
scale,
got the opportunity to watch Zach Mans, Jesse King, and the best lacrosse players in the world. You're showing up to the senior A game 10 times out of 10, and you really don't care about junior A because no one else does.
But see, that's just a culture thing. So I would say that it's a totally different scale too. So like in an Oil Kings game, you're still getting thousands of people.
No, they're not.
Yeah, I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
that's exaggeration. That's okay.
Yeah. They're getting like 4,500 or whatever. Like some of these junior A lacrosse games, you're lucky if you're getting to 200 people. Like we can do better than that, right? So that's where I'm coming from. And then, but I also on the other side of things, I do want to commend people. They did come out for the third game, and actually the series in general, the Crude Outlaws, was much better attended than I think. I just basing it off of what I saw this year in the stands, it was better attended than I expected. So I want to give people credit for that. There were people that showed up. There were some junior A minors in the crowd last night. Lintz was there. There were some people there. So I want to give people credit for that. But yeah, just as a whole, like you're right, around the country, it's not good enough. And yeah, that is some of maybe why we see some of these road teams winning more often. But I do think maybe a bigger part of it is just from a lacrosse side of things, that the league was just so muddled that I think that was a big reason why you saw a lot of road teams winning round one as well.
What a round one by the Mounties, though. I mean,
yeah.
To go to Okotoks back to back, I think that was the most impressive series win. I don't think that's a crazy take.
I think that's a good place to start actually for these round one recaps. Yeah, the Mounties, like, just unbelievable. What an effort by them. Sure, you don't have the home floor advantage, and by way of arena availability, you still get game one, but you're playing game 2 and 3 on the road in Okotoks. I mean, kudos to them for going into Okotoks and winning both of those games. I mean, just unbelievable effort from them, and that's the kind of effort that I think, Mo, you can vouch for it too. That's the kind of effort that we know that the Mounties have had all season long, just they weren't able to kind of, maybe string a number of games together, but that's the kind of offense and the kind of games that the Mounties wanted to play all year long.
Yeah, I think that their just identity, I think, is very workmanlike based, and they do it by committee, and it's very different than some of those older Mountaineer teams of the past, like a decade ago when they were going to the Founders all the time. They had some real higher end type talent, and they had a lot of guys that were very talented. This team is, I think, a little different, and I think that they, like I said, they do it as a whole, and there's no real one area of their game that really stands out, but I just think they're solid across the board. I think they started to get a little bit better goaltending as the year went on, and for them to have the resilience to lose game one in Acadia and then go on the road twice to Okotoks, which is a bit of a trek, it says something about their character.
You gotta listen to a 20-minute podcast. Terrible.
It's closer to like 45 an hour. What are you talking about?
Yeah. It's more like 40. Yeah, I don't know about 20 minutes. But hey, if it's 40, it's perfect for the Junior Beast. They probably flipped that on and listened to it on the way down. Yeah. But yeah, no. They anyways, yeah. I mean, Okotoks is a team that generally has over the years played better at home. So that's kind of why I say that. But yeah, no, they come back down 1-0 and obviously take the next two games by scores of 10-7 and 10-5. Defensively, it looks like they had a pretty solid series all the way around and got enough scoring to get it done. I think we all predicted the Mountaineers would win this series, and it kind of went similar to what I kind of sort of expected. But I think overall, it seemed like the better team won here.
Hey, they got a veteran goalie in Connor Thain. I think that anytime you got that in Junior B, if he heats up at the right time, you've got that. Depth was key, as you said. They had 8 different goal scorers in Game 3. You're going to get, a lot of wins if you're getting depth like that because teams can't just lock down someone. And we've talked about the coaching staff countless amount of times, right? You got Zippy, it's the Tyrell brothers, Sean and Brendan. You've got those two guys in charge. I think that does give teams a little bit more of an edge. They've been with the program. The players trust them. They've been through the thick and thin. And so, yeah, it's pretty impressive. A team that I think in the 3-game series didn't have anyone score more than 3 or 4 goals ends up winning, but that's what you get it done by committee.
Yep. No, I agree.
Yeah, well, kudos to the Mounties for making it past the Marauders. Now they get a round 2 matchup against the Shamrocks, and again, we'll get into round 2 matchups and our predictions and all that a little bit later on in the show. Let's move up the QE2 a bit since we don't have to go out east since their first series is this weekend. Let's head over to the Central. Silvertips and the Chill. I mean, we're not heading too far up the QE2. The Chill end up sweeping the rank 2 Silvertips in 2 games. That is, I want to say that that's a surprising result. I thought that the Silvertips maybe fell a bit flat in the first game, and then they just couldn't recover in time to, make too much of a run at it against the Chill in the second game. But the second game was so tight at 7-5. I mean, what went wrong here for the Silvertips, and why did the Chill, do you guys think, take them out in a pair of games?
I mean, I think personally, and I kind of felt they were a bit of a different team down the stretch this year. I think the collective group there kind of went, look, like, we're sick and tired of underachieving, and it's time for us to clean up some of these mistakes, some of the sloppier play that we've had in the past. We have the ability, we have the talent, and the tools are here, and it's time to finally put it together. And I got the sense that they were starting to do that, and that's why I felt pretty good picking them in this series. And I just think that in the end, their superior talent would win this series. Silvertips losing the goaltender they did, obviously is going to hurt them. And the Chill, I think, were also primed to sort of step up here, knowing that their recent past against the Silvertips had been so poor as well. So I just think that it was the Chill's time, in a sense, and I think they were just better equipped to win this series, and they were flat out the better team. That's sort of what I got out of this.
I mean, there's a huge red flag, and that's the Silvertips took 12 penalties in game number 2. So blame refs all you want. That's absolutely outrageous. Man, the Chill have a stud in Cameron Wallace. This kid's sick. That Orion put up 7 bingos in 2 games too. Easton Martin between the pipes. I don't think he gets enough love, because when he's on his game, he's dialed. He's still a young goaltender too. Like, he's going to develop into something special. 866 save percentage. What's going on with the website though? How did the Chill have 140 minutes played between their goaltenders? Again, there's little things like this that, like, you're like, oh wow, they got stats up. That's awesome. The stats still have to be right, or like it doesn't even matter. So it's little things like that. How could we not watch game 2, guys? Come on. Like,
yeah,
it's awesome to watch that you can get the Silvertips game. Shout out CROW LAX TV, the best. If you're an RMLL team and you're not on board with CROW LAX TV, I don't know what the hell you're doing. Like, it's not the OJLL here where they don't even stream their semifinal series, but like, I don't know. It's getting embarrassing. It's 2025. Figure something out, because if you do want your sport to grow, you better start showcasing the damn sport.
Yeah, no, I'm totally on board with that. And I always tell people with goaltending stats in particular, don't even look at them. Like,
I give teams credit though, because they did count shots on goal. Now, whether they're accurate or not, I'm not going to go back and count. But it seems like they're pretty realistic numbers compared to some of the stuff you see thrown around in the regular season.
Yes, I mean, in the regular season, I'm always very skeptical, because you've got so many goaltenders with basically the same numbers, and I'm just going like, this doesn't look right. And then the shot totals, and you've got the minutes played often don't really make sense. So I just don't even look at goaltender stats. Yeah, honestly, like, stats are whatever. Like, once in a while, I'll look at
rocket science to figure out here.
It's not.
This really isn't.
It's not rocket science, but I'm just telling you, it's very, very unreliable. And I got to the point maybe 10 years ago where I was just like, well, there's no point in even looking at these. So,
let's
and that
just
goes
get
for
the
a lot of
schedules up on the website though. That would be awesome. Like, it's little things like that. I want people packing the barns, but if you can't find the schedule, like, if you're not a social media person, like, I don't know, how would you figure out when I think, have they put up the North semis yet? I don't think they've put up the North semis yet.
Not on the website, but not.
But if you're not a social media person, like, how are my grandparents gonna find out when the games are?
Yeah.
It's little things like that. I just wish that the game, people in charge, and I understand, like, there's a lot of volunteers and hours and effort that gets put into it. I fully understand that. But then you got to figure out a better solution. You got to allocate funds towards it. You got to do something different because there are people in charge and there are dollars that make the world go round, that you got to figure out a better solution here.
Yeah, you don't know how many times I've hammered the RMLL site trying to go, okay, is it up yet? Is it up yet? Is it up yet? Like the senior series in particular. And like, nope, it's not there. It's not there. And we're getting into Wednesday now. So I'm with you. But I think years ago I just got used to this and I'm just like, whatever, it's not even worth fighting anymore. So
I don't even think the senior schedule is like the playoff schedule isn't even updated yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, no, that's so I'm like, I don't know when games 3 and 4 are.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like so we're doing game 5 for the Mounties Outlaws series, right? So here I am wondering. So I actually like sent Paul Ryan a message, and I was like, "Hey, when's game 5 supposed to be?" Because like it's nowhere. It's absolutely nowhere, and I don't know. I'm at a loss with it, but whatever it is, what it is. So. I don't know if anybody else.
It's not even just to like completely dump on them. It's more so just like, hey, I think this conversation's a valid one of like, we want to see the game get better. I don't think either of you guys, like you guys are great advocates for the sport, right? Like we want to see it take steps forward. I think this becomes an accountability factor where how is this an issue, right? Like this is something where, you know, if you say you want to grow the game, you say you want to do this, that, and the other, you know, I think that this is an honest step that you can look in the mirror and say, hey, yeah, we got to do a lot better.
Yeah, no, I'm on board with that. So hopefully we have gotten places. I mean, I will say, and I don't know, I don't want to take too much credit for it, but we've had this discussion so many times. Maybe we had a part in it. Is that over the last couple of years, they finally started spacing out the first and second round. So you're having a Thursday game and sometimes you're having a Monday game. You're not going Friday, Saturday, Sunday afternoon and having it, you know, done in 36 or 40 hours. So, hey, maybe we've had some small part in some of these changes. So, you know, maybe some more changes can be on the horizon here and we can have a better product.
Absolutely. So moving out of the Central Division, just one final big shout out, you know, to the chill from my side, you know, Sartison, Wallace, Dumoulin, Bannister, like these guys getting multiple points in both these games, like just unreal play from some of the chill. And yeah, I think that's what contributed to a big part of them knocking off the Silvertips in 2. So as we head up north into YEG, the other series that went 3 games, as the Central was the only series that ended in 2 games, as the CROW knock off the Outlaws in 3 games after taking the L in game number 1, eerily similar to, you know, to the South Division there in that sort of way. You know, I felt that the Outlaws had what it took to move past the CROW. I think that, and Mo, I know you and I had chatted, you know, off the pod about it, is I think the Outlaws just made a couple too many mistakes that was to their detriment and ultimately ended up just, you know, biting them in the ass and cost them the series.
Yeah, you know, we did this series, so we can talk about it pretty intently. You know, I thought the Outlaws, first off, I want to say the Outlaws had a good season and they deserve a lot of credit for it in the sense that they did a lot more with pretty limited assets. And then they lose Grace in the playoffs. They have no goaltender, essentially. They've got to find an emergency goaltender to play out the whole series for them. I think that they sort of ran out of steam at times in this series. Like, I think the biggest difference was the CROW were a little bit more physical, a little bit more, just a little older, a little heavier, and they really dominated the loose balls, I thought. There were times on the power play where the CROW would get not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 cracks at the net just because they kept picking up the loose ball and getting resets. I thought things like that really made a difference, and I think it was one of the biggest differences other than goaltending in a lot of ways. And also, I thought that the CROW special teams, you know, with some of the guys they have, made a difference as well. When the Outlaws got a power play, you weren't really feeling like they were going to score, as opposed to the other way. You kind of thought, yeah, the Crew have a good chance to put one in here. So I thought those were some of the biggest differences. Josh Fodchuk ended up having a pretty clutch third game. He had some big goals in that one. He was a difference maker. I just thought that the Crew had a little bit more to give, and the Outlaws ran out of steam. I thought that their assets got a little bit too depleted to win in the end. And there were some things with their roster I would have liked them to see them do a little differently. That they just, I don't know if they just didn't feel like it was their year or what it was, but it didn't feel like they put everything they had into it. Just from putting up their best roster onto the floor, they gave a lot of APs and younger guys a chance to play in game 2, and it's such a short series. I don't know if that's the ideal way to go about things. I would have ran it back with the lineup that won game 1 personally. But all that said, I thought that they did a really good job there, the Outlaws, as a team and as a coaching staff. I thought that they came a long way. Just didn't have enough in the end, and I think that the Crude superior skill set won in the end.
Yeah, I think the Outlaws had 4 APs playing. Like that's a feat that not many teams would even push that 3 games. Yeah, I mean, shout out Danny Willis. Like that's, I'm not saying you're playing with David Ayers between the pipes, but like that's some huge shoes to fill. They did have some good performances. I was impressed with Jesse Porter. I think that kid's going to be a serious baller down the road. But at the end of the day, like Josh Fodchuk, nasty hat trick, game high 5 points. Your big players show up most when they're needed. Okay, but did I miss something? And this isn't just to glance over the series. What the hell happened? Where's Graham Dickin? Did he quit or what? Why isn't he playing?
So he's working and he's doing some apprenticeship in Calgary.
Okay.
And so he's only available for like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday games is essentially what it comes down to. In an emergency, could he come up? I guess, but I think the Crude were okay with the situation, and yeah, so that's the scenario there.
Okay, so he just. Oh wait, he did play in
Dickin did play.
Yeah, he played in game 2 because it was on a Saturday. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, I must have missed him on the first one. I was like, where is this guy? Like, is he hurt? Did he quit? Because that's a guy who can be an impact player, right? Like, I think that, like, and Liam Elliott was pretty good in game 1 also, but like, I think that those two could get going. Bennett Fry was good in this series. That is it Bowie, whatever his name is. Like that guy scored some clutch goals too. And then like they got some goals in transition. Like give them credit. The Outlaws would make turnovers, or they'd give the ball away. The Crew had opportunities and they'd bury. Right.
There was so much of that. Yeah. I was just gonna say this series was filled with turnovers and.
Hey, it wasn't the prettiest lacrosse to watch, but that's the junior beast. Welcome to a Monday night 9 p.m.
Well, man, the barn, actually, I give the barn, there was a decent atmosphere in that place for a Monday night, especially.
Hey, there was a few people in there. Like, that's a big arena to fill. There's not a lot of teams filling that arena or anything. So it was nice to see some butts and seats there. Obviously, I would have rather seen it as the Jerome McGinley. Like, that's just a classic barn. Because when that place gets packed and full, a big playoff game in there, it is just one of the absolute best. And so I've seen so many intense games in that Jerome McGinley arena. I mean, probably countless fan fights as well. But like, it's just the atmosphere is elevated 10x inside a small barn.
Yeah, that was the one thing that struck me in game number 3. And I don't think it would have been fatigue because they had 48 hours in between game 2 and game 3. I don't know what it was, but the ball was on the floor a ton, and it didn't look like there was a ton of urgency anywhere to go grab it or fight for it. And it looked like two teams that were sort of playing in the middle of June. It was a weird game. I don't know. It was a weird end of the series, but I think in the end, it benefits the Larry Bishop that the Crude won because I just think they're more ready for the moment, and they've just got an older, more experienced, and more talented team. So I think the lacrosse probably wins with the Crude winning this series.
Yeah, lacrosse wins. Anytime we get Crude Rebels, lacrosse wins. It's just a shame that they're still playing best of 3 series where my U9 nephew is playing in a best of 5.
Yeah, that's a conversation for another day.
Is your U9 nephew really playing a best of 5?
No, I don't have a U9 nephew. I'm just sick of these best of 3s. They just piss me off.
Oh man.
You
All
know
right.
what? Understandable.
That's fair. All right. So with that said, and to put a bow on round number 1, I want to shout out somebody for Beast of the Week. There was a close runner up here. I thought Bennett Fry down the stretch for the Crude has been really good. He's given them sort of a third big time threat on their offense behind Fodchuk and Elliott. He's played a lot of time on the top of their power play. He's really amped up his game. I feel like over the course of the season, as I think his knee might have started to feel a little bit better. So I wanted to give him to give him a shout out. But I'm gonna go with Cam Wallace as the Beast of the Week. 4 goals, 2 assists in game 1, and then 2 goals, 1 assist in game 2. And somebody told me that was in the building watching this that the Silvertips were expending a ton of energy just trying to go after him and be really physical on him and wear him down, and didn't seem to matter. And obviously, when you're doing that, the guy's living in your head, and you're thinking about one individual a little bit too much. It opens up everybody else and frees other guys up. So he obviously had a big role in this win that the Chill just went and put on. So Cam Wallace is your Beast of the Week in round 1 of the 2025 playoffs.
Are we going to make Keenan pick a Beast of the Week here too? Because I got one, but I want to hear who Keenan's would be.
Go ahead.
You know, if I had to pick one Beast of the Week, well, I mentioned his name earlier. I'm going to give it to Orion Sardison for my Beast of the Week of round number 1. I mean, 3 goals in game number 1 against the Tips, and then in game number 2, I can't remember his exact stat line, 4 goals, 1 assist, 5 points in game 2. So, you know, dude's getting 7 goals, 8 points in those 2 games. Just shout out to him. What an absolute, you know, offensive threat for the Chill. And I think he's a big, big reason why the Chill are now facing, who is it, the Mavericks in round 2? I believe it's the Mavericks.
Yeah, you guys both just overlooked the most impactful player in round 1, and that's the guy who averaged 6 points per game. That's Josh Fodchuk, right? Team loses game number 1. He steps up his game. They take game 2 and 3. Crude move on. I'm giving Junior Beast of the Week. If I had a pick, the Josh Fodchuk.
Cody, the one important part of that, though, is that Josh Fodchuk just won Beast of the Week last week. That was partially why. Yeah.
Yeah, true, I guess. Recency bias. No, I really don't care. I'm giving it to Josh Fodchuk.
I do want to give
he's in there. He's up. He was in the thought process, but yeah, no.
I do want to give one extra shout out to somebody, and it's going to be actually a player from the Marauders. One more time. Lyric Kluch.
Yeah.
Unbelievable effort in what ended up, I guess, being the Marauders' final nail in the coffin. But listen to this. Game number 1 in the 8-4 win, 3 goals. That's great. Game number 2 in the 10-7 loss, 3 goals and 3 apples for 6 points. And then in game number 3 goes 2 and 1. Like, just unbelievable play from Lyric Kluch. So a shout out to Lyric Kluch as well, as, you know, another potential Beast of the Week right there. With, what is that, 11 points in 3 games? Just impressive effort.
So Keenan and Cody, before we get to these round 2 previews, I just want to do a quick roundup going across the country. Now, the RMLL as a whole really takes up a lot of spots inside the Founders. Like this year, I mean, in any normal year, there's usually 3 teams from the RMLL representing at the Founders. You have the Alberta champion / RMLL champion, and then you have the Eastern Division rep, whether that's Saskatchewan and Manitoba send teams, and one of those teams has won the Eastern Division and represented at Larry Bishop. So you have those 3 teams every year for the most part at the Founders, and then this year with the Shamrocks hosting, you're going to have 4 teams from the RMLL at the Founders. So I just wanted to give people a bit of a summary of what's going on elsewhere. The First Nations Junior B Lacrosse League, Tuscarora sweeps Tonawanda 3-0 in 1 semi. And then you got the overwhelming favorite, Seneca, up 2-0 on Allegheny in the other semifinal. And then obviously, if Seneca does finish off Allegheny, they will move on to face Tuscarora in the First Nations final. And then the winner of that will represent the league at the Founders. In Ontario, you've got Ganawagi leading Akwesasne 2-0 in their best of 5. And Elora tied 1-1. The Elora, of course, the defending Founders Cup champions, tied 1-1 with Orangeville. Those best of 5s continue tomorrow night. And then in BC, they're playing right now, but at the moment, Coquitlam does lead New West 1-0. They're playing game 2 right now. That's a best of 5. And then the winner of that doesn't necessarily represent. They got to still go and play the interior winner, whether that's Kamloops or Kelowna or whoever it is. Usually it's a formality, but every once in a while that team steps up and gives them a problem. But for right now, it's Coquitlam up 1-0 on New West. And that's sort of what's going on around the rest of the country as we get ready for the Founders Cup in Calgary coming up in a few weeks.
A shout out to former junior beast Tyden Redlick, the Whitby Warriors. Moving on after beating St. Kitts, ridiculous save at the end of the game 5 there. And then today they go and beat the brakes off the Toronto Beaches 10-3 in game 1. So shout out to Tyden Redlick. I think it was 2022 or so. Now I'm probably messing something up, but he's with the Edmonton Warriors. Everyone in the Edmonton area, probably Alberta, knows who I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. 2022 would have been his rookie year. He's a 4th year, so yeah. But pedigree wins out right now in the OJLL as Whitby and Orangeville win tonight and go up 1-0 in their series, and obviously those two teams.
Carrier pigeons could deliver the news for us since we couldn't watch it.
Yeah, we had to go look old school on the box score, but those two teams do go up 1-0, and they lead their best of 7s at the moment. So Keenen and Cody, we've got round 2 coming up, divisional finals. We already know where the North is headed, as those two teams have their tickets punched into the Larry Bishop as the representatives of the North. The Rebels hosting, the CROW getting in as that second team, whether they win the series or not. And that leaves the East, the Central, and the South to be decided. Those series open up this week. First off, in the East, you've got the Blizzard and Kings. Saturday noon, Saturday at 7, and then Sunday at 11 is your schedule. It's a best of 3, all taking place in Regina. So let's start with that. Season series would go to the Kings 3-1. The Blizzard and Kings did split at the end of the season. These two teams have met the last two years, and both series were in Regina as well, as they were the higher seeded team. And in both those years, the Blizzard would walk in and sweep them 2-0 in both cases. And in both cases, the second game was a 1-goal victory for the Blizzard. So the Kings would kind of fight back after a disappointing game 1 loss, but just not quite have enough, and go down at the hands of the Blizzard. So the question is, guys, is this year different? 2025, is this the year the Kings finally figure it out?
I don't know, because you come into this series now, the 3rd year in a row, you're looking at the exact same situation. And at this rate, how do you not shake the monkey off your back going into this series if you're the Queen City Kings, right? Like, you know what's happened the last 2 years. You know you don't want to repeat it again, but at the same time, you said the same thing last year. You don't want to repeat what happened the previous year. So I think that it's going to be a mentality game when it comes to the Kings, is finding a way to block out the noise of, look, we lost to the Blizzard 2 years in a row in back-to-back games in our home barn. Mo, I'm not sure if you have the stats on this readily available. Do you know what the season series breakdown was like in the past 2 years between these two clubs?
You can keep talking and I'll look for you.
Sounds good. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think that the Kings have, that mentality that they need to shake off. And if they can shake it off, the Blizz, I think the Blizz are, and I think we talked about this in an early episode of the pod this year, is that they lost a few key pieces over the year, and they have a new coaching staff. I mean, it hasn't seemed to have affected them all that much, let's be honest. I mean, they're still finishing pretty strong at the end of the year. But I do think that does take a toll on the Blizz a little bit going into this series, knowing, okay, you got some new faces, you've got a new coaching staff who are, are coaching in this series for the first time ever, right? So I don't know. I think that the Kings can pull it off, but it's just a mentality game when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think the Blizz, if they're gonna win, I believe is it Sanuk or Seniak, whatever their goalie's name is there. It's Cooper. I know the first name. That's fair. Seniak. Yeah. Again, like if he stands on his head, they got a chance. If not, it's Kings in 2. Like there's no way Regina doesn't get over the hump here. They got some veterans. They got some ballers, and I don't know. I just think it's the Kings' time, and would not be surprised if it's Kings in 2, unless that Seniak stands on his head, which he could do. And they got some good players too, like that Evan Fielding's a heck of a player. You got Will Angus. They got to stay out of the box though. Too many times the Blizz are just filling the penalty side of the sheet, and you can't be doing that against the Kings. But they play smart. They got a chance to push it 3. If not, it's Kings in 2.
So Keenan, I looked it up, and the Kings went 2-2 in 2024. And then they won 3-1 in the season series in 2023.
Yeah, so it's really a non-factor at this point.
Yeah, well, the Kings have the regular season edge: 3-1, 2-2, and 3-1. Yeah, so they've beaten them more often than not in the regular season, but in the playoffs, the Blizzard have come up and gone into Regina and beat them both times, 2-0. So it's definitely a step up time, much like for the Chill, what they just went through. I think it's step up time for the Kings. No, there's no question they have the talent edge. I think the Blizzard have enough winning pedigree to win a game, but ultimately I'll take the Kings in 3. I just think that they're going to have too many offensive threats, and I think their power play will probably be a lot more dangerous than what the Blizzard will be able to put out there. And I think that they're going to have obviously they're going to have some extra motivation, having lost to this team the last 2 years at home, 2-0. And I'd be just given that scenario alone, I just can't really fathom a situation where they lose again. But I mean, stranger things have happened, and I wouldn't put it past the Blizzard for finding a way, because that's what they often do. But I got to go Kings in 3.
I think I'm going to agree with you there. I'm going to say Kings in 3 as well. I do think that the Blizz squeak out a win somewhere in game 1 or 2. But yeah, I think this is the year that the Kings find a way past the Blizz, just given, the different circumstances of this year compared to the last couple of years.
So I guess we can move with that over to the South, where the Mountaineers and Shamrocks are going to go head-to-head for the second year in a row in this round. It opens up on Thursday, 8 o'clock, and then moves Saturday, 6:30 from Stupa Park. So the Shamrocks actually get a road game in their old home arena, and then back to the sports. That's
the most Junior Beast thing ever.
Yeah.
The Shamrocks just finagled 3 home games.
Yeah, no, it did not shock me at all when I saw that. And then Sunday at 8 o'clock, we conclude the series back in the Sportsplex, where the Founders will be hosted by the Shamrocks. So the storylines going into this one are these teams did split the season series 2-2. The Mountaineers were able to beat the Shamrocks in the season finale. And last year, the Mountaineers did go down 2-0. They would lose to the Shamrocks in the South Final. This year, a bit of a different story. Just to sort of tee it up, in general, I think that you're going to see two teams that know each other very well. I would imagine the Mountaineers want to play the game and keep it a certain way. My big worry for them in this series is that if the game gets really high scoring, can they keep up? There seems to be a bit of a ceiling on their offense in a lot of these games. But at the same time, if anybody knows how to beat the Shamrocks, it would be the Mountaineers, and they've shown that they know how to do it this year. And I think this sets up for such an intriguing South Final, because the Marauders, who generally really struggle with the Shamrocks, I think would have been really tough here. But I think because the Mountaineers have that confidence built in that they can beat this team, I think they're going to give them a really hard time. I'll save my prediction here, and I'll let you guys talk. But this might be the most interesting series to me, because I can see it going a lot of different ways. And I think these are two teams that are going to be very buttoned up and going to play pretty level-headed, clean lacrosse, but fast lacrosse. And I think it should be an entertaining series.
Yeah, I think this is the most, well, we'll get to the most intriguing matchup to me next here, but yeah, I think this is a very intriguing matchup nonetheless. You know, I was curious, I just went back, is, you know, a lot of the times, like, these top teams, they'll rest guys coming into the latter weeks of the season kind of thing, and, you know, get them prepped for playoffs. That 7-5 Mounties win at the end of the year, it doesn't look like to me the Shamrocks were resting a lot of guys at that point. So I think that's what's going to be, you know, kind of the deciding factor here for me, is that the Mounties obviously know how to beat the current Shamrocks roster, and they proved it there in one of the final weeks of the season. And then, you know, coming back from being down 1-0, you got 2 elimination games in round 1 that you got to fight back for, and you end up winning both of them and nabbing the win for yourself to make it to the Shamrocks. I think that the Mounties could make a big upset here against the Founders Cup hosts. I think it's going to take a bit for it? Absolutely. But the Shamrocks won't go down without a fight, and we all know that. But the Mounties are equipped. I think, like you said, Mo, they know the Shamrocks. They're familiar with them over recent years. And I think the Mounties are ready to make the step. And I think it's intriguing knowing that the Mounties could potentially get a Larry Bishop berth over the Founders Cup hosts. And how interesting would it be if the Mounties end up winning the Larry Bishop by some way, shape, or form? I mean, that's 2 big Calgary clubs now that you got in the Founders Cup, right? So yeah, I'm personally going to say that, you know what? I'm going to say Mounties take this series in 3 games. I think the Shamrocks do end up with a win, but I'm going to go Mounties in 3.
I love how nice you guys are. I just love listening to you guys. Okay, the Mounties have scored more than 10 goals twice all season. The last time they did it in a win was May 25th. That's like 4 months ago now. I'm not a math guy, but that's a long ass time ago. The Shamrocks are rested. They've got the offensive firepower. If they play with their food, maybe the Mounties shut them down for a game, but I think it's Shamrocks in 2. The Shamrocks are built to go on a Founders Cup run. They're not worried about the South Finals. That's a team that's going to be pushing for a national championship. I think they done and dust them in 2.
Man, well, okay. I'll start by saying this. I did say that was my main concern for the Mountaineers, is their offensive output then seeming to have a ceiling on it. Like, it seems like 9 goals is sort of where it caps. And then on a really good day, maybe they can get over it, but it takes a lot. I know they did play the Shamrocks in a game relatively recently where it was like 16-13. I don't anticipate a game in the playoffs to be like that. I would be pretty surprised. So here's the thing. I want so badly to take the Mountaineers. So badly. But what I bet a lot of sports, and what I've learned over the years, is you've got to go with your brain way more than your heart. And ultimately, for that reason, I'm going with the Shamrocks in 3, because I think that their power play is going to be better. I think it's going to be much more effective when they do get those opportunities. I like that they went out and added to their goaltending situation. I, at the start of the year, said the Mountaineers were going to upset them in the South. And I think they're going to give them a real run. My brain's telling me that those kids are also going to be smart enough to know we can't afford to go 4 weeks without playing any games before the Founders. This is a very important series for us to win. We want to be the RMLL champions. We want to represent Alberta as the champions. And so for those reasons, and also they probably know that 4 weeks of practicing with Jason Crook with no games is going to be hell. So I think there's going to be plenty of motivation for them to win this series. And I think, again, you got to go when you have conflicting thoughts on a series, you got to go with who's done it before and where the talent edge lies. It's with the Shamrocks. So I'm going Shamrocks in 3.
Well,
all right, Keenan.
Bold predictions.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Bold predictions. Is this the first time in this season? Well, I guess this season, like there was more than one round last week, but Is this the first time so far this playoffs that everybody's had a different prediction for the series?
Yeah, it's possible.
I think it is.
It could be because last week, we all had the Mountaineers, but I had them in 3, and I think you had them in 3, and then
I think
I
Simon
don't
had him
remember.
in 2 or something. I don't know,
Maybe.
but
Yeah.
nonetheless, I
But
think this is
yeah,
the first time this playoffs.
it's nice to have different takes for sure. We talked about that last week, but yeah, it definitely adds some spice to the conversation. All right, so let's move over now to the Central, where the Chill, for the second year in a row, will take on the Mavericks, but this time it's in the Central Division Final. Last year it was the semi. Friday night, the series opens up 8 o'clock inside Innisfail Arena. Sunday goes back to Brentwood for game number 2, 6 o'clock start. And then on Monday, 8 o'clock back in Innisfail if necessary. The season series between these two teams, I believe the Mavericks took 2-1. The Chill actually took 2-1. They won that last game in Brentwood. So the Chill do have the season series advantage. These and their series last year, very controversial ending to it. I talked about it a lot on the podcast last year. I'm not going to go too much into it, but there was a terrible call that wiped out a Chill goal that would have made it 8-6 very late in the game. And then the Mavericks came down and the ball went off the end boards on the back and sat on the back of the net. They called it a goal somehow. 7-7 instead of 8-6. And then the Mavericks scored right after and won the game. And that would be it for the series. They took it 2-0.
That's as junior beast as it gets, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, live with the sword, die with the sword. That's live with the beast, die with the beast.
Just ugly, but all right. Yeah, okay. So
I hate it, but I'm just saying, that's junior beast.
So that's how that series would end. So you have to think that coming into this, the Chill are going to remember that, and that'll be somewhat of a factor motivationally, you would think, for them. These two teams over the last few years have become pretty well acquainted. Now, the X factor in this series is that I'm hearing that Swan and Sutherland are both hurt, and I don't know if they're going to dress, especially for game 1. I haven't got that confirmed whether they're going to dress or not. But I doubt they're going to be 100%. That's your best shooter and your number 1 goaltender, and from what I've seen, there's a lot of questions.
That's Mo Friedman coming to the news here. That's a big one.
Yeah. So the other thing is that there's a lot of question marks behind Swan and net. So that would be a very big loss if he can't go. Again, I'll save my analysis for the end here. Have at it, guys. What do you think takes place here?
Cody, I'll let you take the.
That's
opening.
Crazy. How is our top analyst not going first? People want to hear from Mo. I'm shutting up. Talk, Mo. What are you seeing in this one?
All right. Okay. So I honestly think that the Chill are going to end up winning the series. Whether it's in 2 or 3, I don't really know. Put it this way: if Sutherland and Swan are not playing in game number 1, I think it's the Chill in 2. If they're both playing and relatively healthy, then I think it goes 3 and it's a lot tighter. But I'm taking the Chill regardless. I just think that much of what I talked about in their first round breakdown, I think that they started to really crack down on some of the mistakes they've been prone to making. They've started to play better defense. Their goaltending is healthier. Easton Martin has stepped up, and when Matson's been healthy as their number 1, he's very, very capable. Then on the other side, I think the Mavericks are, you lose Hildebrandt to graduation last year. Sutherland is your best shooter. There's no question about that. And if he can't go, that leaves an area of your team that is a little questionable, 5-on-5 offense at a disadvantage. I think the Chill power play should be able to overmatch the Mavericks in this series. And if the Chill don't let the Mavericks run wild and guys like Muratori and Dolinsky and guys like that to hurt them in transition, they should have advantages in most key areas of the floor. And because of that, and the power play advantage, which I always go to, I think that's massive. I think the Chill win this. Whether it's in 2 or 3, depends on injuries, but I'm taking the Chill.
I think Cody's going to let me go next. Oh, man. It's an honor to go next. I think that Swan and... Who did you say was Sutherland?
Yeah, Swan and Sutherland. Yeah.
If Swan and Sutherland, like you said, are out, that drastically changes this entire series. I do think that the Chill are going to come into this series pissed off with how last year ended. They're not pleased with it in the slightest, and I mean, who can blame them? So I think the Chill are going to have something to prove. Mind you, the Chill are one of very few teams that walked into Innisfail and took a win this year in what we have routinely called the toughest barn to win in all of Junior B, in Alberta especially. So
they got a great horn in Innisfail. They still rocking that thing. It was like a full-on train in that bad boy.
Cody, did you see the intermission? I think it was the second intermission of their game against Red Deer where they had full-on wrestlers come out of the stands and start going at it on the floor.
I love it.
I put a guy inside a garbage can and like smashed him through a table. It was freaking hilarious.
Fantastic.
And the way they set it up was they started like it looked like two fans chirping each other, and then they went like around the glass onto the floor. It was absolutely hilarious. I don't know who set that up, but
it was so good. So good. Yeah, so, I think the Chill come into that barn, having been, again, one of the few teams to have won in Innisfail, and with that in the back of their minds of how last year ended, I think they take out the Mavericks. I agree. I think depending on the situation with Swan and Sutherland, this changes my opinion between 2 or 3 games. I do think that the Chill will come away with the win over the Mavericks, just given, again, the situation last year and all that kind of stuff. Again, depending on Sutherland and Swan, I'm going to say it's 3 games, but if Sutherland and Swan are out, it's going to be 2 games for the Chill.
Well, frick. Everyone's going Chill. Okay, no, absolutely not. It's Mavericks time. I still think that, hey, the Chill have some absolute guns, but if you're the Mavericks, if you're Mountain View, you got to just man up and play some serious defense here. It can't just be you're going to try goon it up on Cam Wallace, because clearly that ain't going to work. But you got to get sticks on hands. You cannot be letting him, Dumoulin, Orion, those type of guys be letting go of 10 to 12 shots per game. If the Mavs actually lock up on defense, I think they got a good chance here. Injured or not, that team does have depth. Trey Christensen is a man who can motivate many. And I truly believe that having good coaching in Junior B matters. Not that Brett's not a good coach with the Chill. I've seen Trey do it time and time again, even going back to his Red Deer days. So, yeah, if you might have to go to Evanston between the pipes, I still think there's a good chance Swan probably plays. That's one tough SOB. And so, it's playoffs. Come on, put a little extra tape on it and get out there. But I truly believe that there's a good chance that Mountain View wins no matter what. So, give me the Mavs in 3.
It's interesting that you're talking about coaching, because I was just thinking, and there's no question that Trey is a very good motivator, and he's a guy that definitely gets those guys ready to go. I just think there's also so many buttons that Brett Barron and Tack and those guys in the Chill can push this year in particular. Like, you're going and looking back at last year's series, you're like, you can just so easily go like, boys, we were robbed last year. The Founders is in Calgary. It's in our backyard. We're not losing that opportunity. Like, there's just so many ways that I think that the Chill could get themselves up for that. And not that the game is all about motivation. It's not. But I think that in a lot of these series in the past, the Mavericks have had a motivational edge. They live like with a huge chip on their shoulder. Like, everyone's against us. Like, no one believes in us, all of that stuff. Well, this time, like, the Chill really can play a lot of those cards. And I think it's going to help them. I really do. Not to say that the Mavericks can't win this series, they can, but losing if those 2 guys are hurt or banged up, I just think that's just too much to overcome.
If it gets into a gunfight though, and they let Bannister, I like that Bateman kid too. Like, if they let the Chill run wild, if the Mavs ain't winning this game 15-14, right?
No,
the Mavs are gonna have to win 11-10, 10-9. That's the type of game I would expect them to win. But if they want to get into a gunfight against the Chill, good luck.
Yeah, I guarantee if the Mavericks pull this series out, there's a 5-4 game in here. It's like 8-5, 5-4, couple of games like that they win. Like I think as soon as this gets up into the 9-ish area, I think it's advantage chill. So we'll see if the Mavericks can slug it out and drag it into the sewer. We'll see. It's going to be another fascinating series. I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope that game in Brentwood. I know last year the Mavericks put up a stream. I think their own guy did it. He was in the corner of Brentwood, giving some interesting commentary, but commentary nonetheless. So that chill game, we'll see if they do that again. I'm looking forward to
if
it.
You're not streaming your division.
Yeah,
finals.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I really want to see that series. So, I think that leaves us with one series to cover, right, guys? That's the North, I believe, and we're gonna shift. Yeah, we're gonna shift focus over there, and it's another CROW Rebels North final. I believe this is the first time that they'll meet in the North final since 2019, when the Rebels won 2-1 in a memorable third game where I remember some guys hammering trash cans in the top of the stands of the JRC about an hour before the game. So maybe we'll get more of that here.
How it should be.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get some of that in this series, even though both teams are in the Larry Bishop. Thursday night, the series opens inside the JRC at 8 o'clock. Saturday, you got a matinee in Service Place, 2 o'clock, I think, is the start time. And then Sunday, back at the JRC, 8 o'clock, if necessary. The season series, 3-0 for the Rebels, as they took a close one in Fort Saskatchewan and then took 2 pretty convincing wins in St. Albert later on in the season. So these two teams well acquainted with one another, and we'll see what we have in store here. I want Keenen to go first on this because I know he loves both these teams. Let's hear what you have to say, Keenen.
I'm being cyberbullied here. I'm 100%. You're cyberbullying me, Mo.
No, never, man. I never do that.
No, only jokes here. No, I'm gonna come out and say it straight up. Rebels in 2. And I know that may be a bit of a controversial take, but let's be real here. The Rebels did not lose a single game to any team in Alberta all season long. Their only losses were 3 to the Blizz, 1 to the Kings. Unbelievable stats that nobody on this side of the Alberta-Saskatchewan border was able to beat them. I think this is going to be a no contest, unfortunately. It was a hard-fought battle for the CROW to make it into the finals. And kudos to them for being able to do it and, securing their place in the Larry Bishop over the Outlaws. But I think the Rebels they're looking so damn unstoppable this year. Again, I think the only teams that are really going to give them a lot of issues in the Larry Bishop are going to be the East, barring anything major happening with, like the Shamrocks or the Mavericks coming in and somehow knocking them off in the Larry Bishop. But nonetheless, Rebels, they have the offensive firepower. They have the defense. They've got outstanding goaltending from Bowen Carpenter. I know he was actually featured on a episode of forget what podcast it is that Jake Elliott hosts there.
Lax Class.
Thank you. Yeah, he was featured on an episode of Lax Class a few weeks back as, goaltender of the week. So, the Rebels just have all the pieces here. I wouldn't be surprised if, we see a couple of Rebels blowout wins here, trying to make a statement to everyone else, being like, hey, look, we're going to put you on notice. You're coming into our barn. You're going to pay for it. We are going to go be the ones to go to Founders. So, I got Rebels in 2 all day long.
Yeah, it's going to be, I don't know. I'm interested to see what actually happens. Like, do the CROW just sandbag it and say, like, we played Monday night. Let's rest up our guys. Let's just coast into the Larry Bishop. Maybe goon it up a little bit, see if they can, get their, pound of flesh from the Rebels before the actual tournament that matters. I don't know. I can see that happening to some extent, but I think it should be Rebels in 2. Maybe they come out a little bit sluggish, but there's no reason they shouldn't win, right? It just kind of depends. And I do think going into the Larry Bishop and so one and done, I think I have a totally different opinion of this, matchup where Will Horn can steal you a game. Josh Vodchuk can go off for 6 anytime. Bennett Fry could have 3. They got Dick, and that guy can play too. And like, it could be totally different, but like end of the day, it's all between the ears for the CROW. You know, if they're gonna go take stupid penalties, you know, they're just gonna get the doors beat off of them. But you know, for the Rebels too, stay out of the penalty box, put the ball in the net, and that's one of the best teams in the province, bar none.
Yeah, you see, I'm drawing a lot of parallels and a lot of things that I was thinking about that I saw in this first round series with the CROW and the Outlaws, and how it's going to translate. And they won in large part because they were way better on loose balls, and they were heavier, and they were more physical, and they were better in transition. Well, what does that sound like? That sounds like the Rebels. That's like what the Rebels live off of.
Basically.
So how is that gonna match up? I don't think very well. The Rebels do all that better, and much better than the Outlaws. So I don't think they're going to be able to live off of that, and I don't think that's going to be probably going in the negative direction as opposed to the positive direction. They're not going to get all those resets on the power play. They're not going to be able to control zone time that way. They've got like the Rebels. Carpenter is the best, deservedly so. I think everybody will agree he's the best goalie in the North. So right there's an edge, and that's no slight on Horn. Horn's second or third, but I mean, it's not really rocket science to say that the Rebels have a goaltending edge, especially now if both teams have to go to their backup. They definitely have an edge there as well. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I'd love for this to be really close and intense and, you know, great crowds, which still could be, you know, it could be in the cards. I hope the CROW approach this the right way and want to win, because I think it's important. I don't think you want to go into the Larry Bishop getting your, for lack of a better phrase, your ass worked over by another team, especially a rival like this. So I hope that both teams bring their best. But for the reasons I just pointed out, stylistically, I just think the Rebels have edges in a lot of key areas. The one thing I'll say is the Rebels need to get their offense going. I haven't really loved what I've seen from their offense all season. They've sort of won games despite that, and they always find ways to score goals. So, I mean, their output is usually fine, but I'd like to see a little bit more cohesive play out the front gate. I think more so for their Larry Bishop prospects as more than their North final prospects, but I'm looking forward to this series. I do think that the CROW have maybe a higher ceiling offensively. It's close, and I think for them to win, these games have to be 12-10, not 8-6 and 7-5. So the higher scoring it is probably benefits the CROW, but in the end, it's got to be Rebels in 2. It's a short series. If this was in 7, maybe I'd say 5 or 6, but it's 3, so I got to go Rebels in 2.
Well, with that being said, that's all of the series. Do you guys have any, closing thoughts on, big things you're looking forward to in this finals, things that you hope happen, don't happen? I don't know. Whatever you want to say. I just want to
see fans in the building. Like, we got to do a better job at that. I already, talked about it earlier. Like, the schedule's got to be out there. You got to get fans back in the building. Because speaking of that 2019 series, I know it meant a lot more, but like that was some of the best, lacrosse atmospheres in all of Canada. It was like that. This matched nothing else. That series, that environment, that CROW Rebels rivalry back then was unmatched. And so you got to find a way to bring that back. And I'm telling you, for free, it doesn't happen if the schedule is not online 24 hours before the actual games start. Right. And so, hopefully that can happen for the Larry Bishop. I know they're doing a great job promoting that. I think it's going to be awesome. Like, Rebels CROW at Larry Bishop is going to be such a fun matchup. I can't wait for that. But like all across the board, I want to see the buildings packed. I want to see more videos of it. It's such a shame we can't watch all the games. It shouldn't be rocket science to get them streamed nowadays. And everyone knows exactly who to reach out with at CROW LAX TV. But like, I don't know. I think there's just a couple of those things where it's so awesome to talk about the games and look forward to it. And then when the weekend actually rolls around and I sit down on my couch and I'm like, well, I can't watch this game, that sucks, right? We can do better with that. And I think that it all starts with, you guys too, because you guys are the biggest influences in tier 1 lacrosse right now. I see the numbers you guys are putting up. Like, it's awesome what CROW LAX TV is doing. It's awesome what the Junior Beast is doing, because you guys truly want the game to move forward. And so again, I think that, hey, it's awesome to be on the show. I appreciate you guys giving me the invite, but what you guys are doing is unreal to see. And I'm super happy that the game's got you guys both here.
Wow. Well, I mean, it's very kind words to hear, Cody. I will say I did reach out to the Mountaineers, and I was like, look, like, you and the Shamrocks got to put it together and work out a way that you can get these games up, because there's a lot of people that want to watch them, and hopefully it works out. I don't know if they're even going to try, but I mean, I would hope so, because those two teams have a long history, and I expect that to be a good series, just like really all these should be. So I know if anybody's curious, you can watch the Kings. They don't have any commentary or anything. They don't have any commentary or anything, but you can watch their games online. Just type in Queen City Kings Junior B Lacrosse on YouTube, and it will come up. It's just a straight stream of the game. No real production to it, but if you want to watch it, it's right there for you, so you can watch the Blizzard and Kings go at it. But yeah,
same
you're
with
right.
the Mavs too. Shout out the Mavs.
Yeah.
They're doing their own thing.
I forgot about that.
Respect.
Yeah, the Mavericks cover all their games on YouTube, so you can watch all their home games from Innisfil Arena there. So yeah, I know I was talking about that earlier with their intermission extravaganza with the wrestling and everything. So sometimes you never know what you're gonna get, but it's gonna be entertaining out of Innisfil. So
hey, I'll throw this out there too. I know you guys have a huge listenership too. So again, like, we're lucky enough, we get to do the Larry Bishop Memorial Cup together. The three of us plus a bunch of other friends. If there's something people want to see on the broadcast, if there's something people want to hear, like, drop some recommendations, drop it in the chat, tag us on social media, reach out to us. Like, we got a lot of cool things going. I don't know if you guys have talked about it really, but like, hey, we're going to try take this thing to the next level. We want it to be as good as possible. We're throwing out there where we're going to have, 5+ camera angles. We're going to have play-by-play color. We're going to do interviews, like have pregame stuff, postgame. Like, we want to take it to the next level. I love what CROW LAX TV has been building, but again, it does come down to the fans and the people watching. And so if there is, some ideas and stuff, definitely chuck them our way, please.
Absolutely. Well, that is going to be an amazing time once we get to the Larry Bishop. Again, of course, we got this weekend of action left, and this weekend on CROW LAX TV specifically, you'll be able to catch game 1, 2, and potentially a game 3 between the CROW and the Rebels. Again, just as a quick recap, CROW visiting the Rebels at the JRC Thursday, 8 p.m. Game number 2 will then be Saturday, 2 p.m. as the Rebels will head over into Service Place, and then if that series remains tied after the 2 games, game 3 will go back to the JRC on Sunday night for an 8 p.m. matchup. And one other game that we will have streamed for you, if a game 5 is needed in the Senior B matchup between the Calgary Mountaineers and the Beaumont Outlaws, we'll have the coverage for you. I believe that game, it has not been fully confirmed, but I believe that game is scheduled tentatively for Sunday at 2 p.m., so you should be able to catch that. We'll always have the most recent updates right here on CROW LAX TV. Also, over on our Instagram and Twitter, you can find us there at CROW LAX TV. Cody, thank you so much for joining us once again on the Junior Beast. It's always a pleasure to have, the founder of the Junior Beast podcast joining us. I mean, and thank you once again for, entrusting Mo and I with this baby of yours. So thank you.
Hey, you guys have taken the car, you're driving it, you're keeping it between the lines. I'm happy. I love it.
Awesome. Well, Cody, we will see you up here in Fort Saskatchewan for the Larry Bishop Memorial Cup. Again, the Larry Bishop goes August 1st through 4th. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We will have the full coverage of the Larry Bishop for you right here on CROW LAX TV, including some fun behind-the-scenes stuff, as Cody mentioned. And if there is anything you would like to see, once again, be sure, send us a message over on Instagram or Twitter at CROW LAX TV. Mo, where can people find you?
As always, you can hit me up on Twitter at MJ_9 and on Instagram at M.Joma. And if there's anything that lacrosse related you ever want to talk about, feel free to reach out. And also make sure that when these podcasts and games hit the thumbs up. It just makes it so much more accessible to more eyes and more people and a bigger viewing audience. And as we approach the Larry Bishop, that's exactly the perfect time for more viewership and more people getting into the product. So hit the thumbs up as much as you can. Comment on the videos. Tell us what you think, and we'll be very appreciative of that. And once again, can't thank you guys enough for listening and taking part in what's been another fun season.
Absolutely. Well, thank you once again for listening to the Junior Beast for my co-host Muhammad and our special guest Cody Janzen. My name is Keenan. So long for this week. Be sure to catch all the action live right here on CROW LAX TV, and we will see you next week on the Junior Beast.